Dismissive avoidants can often struggle to apologize in intimate relationships. Their apologies can sound ingenuine, defensive, or they may struggle to come up with what they're even apologizing for. In the worst case scenario, you may never hear an apology from them at all. This can be really tough at the end of a relationship with a person with an avoidant attachment style, when going without an apology leaves you to pick up the pieces, trying to understand what happened and how much responsibility you should give to them versus how much responsibility you should take yourself. In this video, we'll explore why a person with this attachment style struggles to apologize. By the way, the discussion in this video can apply to both a relationship ending or even if you're still in a relationship with a person with this attachment style. Hi, I'm Katya Morozova. I'm a personal and relationship coach, and I help people overcome heartbreak. I help them understand their relationship patterns using attachment theory. Now, let's do a quick overview of the dismissive avoidant attachment style. This attachment style develops before the age of 5 years old, and children with this attachment style can often experience neglect at an early age or pressure and responsibility put on them at an inappropriate time in their development. This attachment style can be linked to alcoholism or mental illness in one or both of the caregivers, though this can also be true of other insecure attachment styles. People with the DA attachment style can often struggle with trust and intimacy in relationships, as well as vulnerability and interdependence as adults. They tend to be independent, they can be rigid or rule-driven, and focused on personal success in the areas that align with their values. Now, apologies require a level of vulnerability and consideration of wrongdoing to be genuinely communicated by the person who is apologizing. In fact, studies have shown that the more comprehensive an apology is, the more likely it is to be effective. Effective apology elements can include, and I'm going to quote here, expressing remorse, taking responsibility, offering to repair, giving an explanation, promising to improve behavior in the future, and acknowledging harm done, as well as admitting wrongdoing and requesting forgiveness. Now, someone with a DA attachment style may struggle to apologize for a number of reasons. Now, let's get into some of those reasons. First, a DA may simply not know how to apologize in an appropriate way. It may be especially challenging if the content of the apology pushes them to empathize with uncomfortable emotions that they may lack a relationship to. Now, I just want to call something out here. Oftentimes when people hear this, that a person with this attachment style has difficulty empathizing, it's almost as if that people start to make this connection that means that this person is a narcissist. And I just want to say that that's really not necessarily true. You know, people in general can struggle empathizing. It's not just someone with this attachment style who struggles empathizing in, you know, really like in deep attachment relationships, like when their attachment system is triggered. Empathy isn't like this kind of static thing where, you know, one person is just empathetic while another person is not empathetic. That's not how empathy works. Empathy is very fluid. And I'm sure that if you looked into your own life, you may notice that there are certain situations that you have empathy for, or certain people that you, and when they're in those situations that you empathize with, and other times where you struggle to empathize with someone else's experience, maybe because they're a lot different from you or they think in a very different way. You know, these last few years and the experience, like everything that's been going on in in politics and during the pandemic, we've seen that a lot of people lack empathy for one another. So a lack of empathy doesn't necessarily mean that someone is a narcissist. That's just not true. All it means is that, they may struggle to empathize with particular emotions. So for instance, if they went through abuse or neglect and they at one point were helpless and powerless, then they are going to struggle with empathizing with you when you are feeling helpless and powerless. This is just to illustrate how empathy even arises. We empathize with people when we have a certain relationship to an emotion or an experience within ourselves. Empathy starts internally and radiates outward. So likely if you struggle to empathize with someone else's experience about something, it may be that you don't have a strong relationship to that emotion or that experience within yourself. The second reason is that apologizing may not have been modeled to them or may have been modeled in an unhealthy way. So for instance, expressing emotion, expressing remorse, or being vulnerable is seen as a sign of weakness, if that's the model that they received. So then if apologizing is a vulnerable act, it can be interpreted as humiliating, weak, or demeaning rather than, courageous and vulnerable and thoughtful. So then rather than apologize in a meaningful way, the DA can employ that defensive orienting or become hostile to protect that really vulnerable state. The third reason a person with this attachment style may struggle to apologize is because they struggle to accept responsibility for their actions or their feelings. So they may not be able to own the consequences of their actions, or they may be too ashamed to admit any wrongdoing. This can be especially true if the degree of the transgression is really high. So if they did something that's, bad that they really regret. So if they, it could be this kind of record scratch between themselves and how they view themselves. If I do this thing, what does that mean about me? What does that mean about my character? And so if someone is kind of worried about their own internal state, their own core image, and they value that more than the relationship or preserving the relationship or giving the apology, then, that they can withhold the apology in that particular case. Finally, a lack of apology or lack of a comprehensive apology could also be used as a strategy to create emotional distance. So for instance, the DA may know that they made a mistake, but they don't want to apologize because it is an avenue for closeness and reconnection. In this case, maybe they are sorry, maybe they want to apologize, but they're afraid that if they do apologize, it'll open up a connection, it'll open up a conversation, and they may, withhold that apology to distance themselves from getting revved back into the relationship. Now, all of that said, a lack of a meaningful apology can still lead to a lot of frustration, a lot of resentment in the relationship, and can even result in an ongoing conflict or the relationship ending. It's really common to feel like apologizing can make us vulnerable and opens us up to attack or criticism. We may feel like we're not in the wrong or that we don't need to apologize because the other person is just as bad as we are. But this isn't necessarily true. Apologizing is actually a powerful way to take ownership of our actions and can help us build fulfilling and connected relationships. Even though this video has been geared towards the DA attachment style, I'm wondering if you could actually relate to any of these reasons for withholding an apology in your own life. Let me know if you ever have in the comments below. Now, if you're still trying to understand what happened, if you'd like some personalized insights into your unique situation, And if you'd like to heal from the grief and the heartache, then I recommend trying out one-on-one coaching with me. You can book a session with me using the link in the description box or the pinned comment below. Did you like this video? If you did, give me a thumbs up and please subscribe if you want to watch more videos like this one. Next up is my video on the dismissive avoidant and why they come back. You can watch that just right up here. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to catch you on the next one. Bye.